Things get tense in St. Louis.
Where's our leadership?
Let's talk about it, y'all. Middle America. Well, I'm sure by now everybody's seen the video of the two white individuals in St. Louis, Missouri.
I heard they were attorneys. Is that true?
Yeah, they're two attorneys. They're pointing their weapons at the protesters walking by. And the interpretation of the events, as I've been reading, is pretty much split down party lines. If you're a right-winger, you're going to say this is castle doctrine, they were protecting their house. If you're a left-winger, you're going to say these racist white Republicans with their guns. By the way, right-wingers, this was not Black Lives Matter who did this. This was another group. You know, there's more groups protesting than just Black Lives Matter.
Not everybody protesting that's black.
It's what they do. Like anything that happens with any sort of violence, they go, Black Lives Matter! Which is funny, but it's also a tactic that's used to invalidate Black Lives Matter and shape people's perceptions of what's happening. So, anyway, the interpretation of what's happening is pretty much down party lines. It's either these are horrible racist white people who were just itching for a situation, or it is horrible Black Lives Matter people who deserved everything they got and should have been killed.
It is a little bit weird that two attorneys would be standing out there. I mean, they must make enough money to be able to hire somebody to.
It's a pretty high-end neighborhood.
You see what I'm saying? Like, do you think it's weird that these two people, like, you're two attorneys? I mean, we know what attorney costs are. They're pretty expensive. So, like, you can't pay someone to stand out there like you're coming out on your front lawn. I don't know. It seems weird to me.
Yeah. So he comes out there. It looks like he's got a 16 on him, and he's got a little purse gun there. Yeah. About to do some work. She's got her finger in the trigger well, though, and you're not supposed to do that unless you're trying to shoot. But who cares about safety? Who cares about trigger discipline in this day and age? So there's actually an interview from the person, from the man who was holding the M16. So here's his side of the story.
It's new at noon. We are now hearing from the man who stood in his front yard pointing a gun as protesters marched through the central West End. This video right now on your screen getting national attention. You see the man and his wife there in the striped shirt out in their yard with weapons as protesters marched by their home, headed to the home of St. Louis Mayor Lyda Krewson to protest. Mark McCloskey says the protesters smashed through gates on their street, and this is all private property. He also says that he and his family were threatened. Now, we did check the area this morning. You can see the wrought iron gate is now gone. There is a chain link gate up with a pink ribbon on it.
As soon as I said the words private property, it enraged the crowd. There was then a horde of people coming through the broken gate. I mean, the gate was broken in pieces. I've sent you the photographs of it. And there were, I don't know how many people, a tremendous number of people, all angry, all shouting, all coming towards us.
We will have much more on this story for you coming up this afternoon, starting on News 4 at 4 o'clock.
Now, I mean, it's right there. The gate is destroyed, that's
not the same area.
It's the same area.
What?
It's the same area.
No, it isn't. Look at this.
He also says.
Look at this. See these little triangles? Those triangles are not in that second picture.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you have a destroyed gate there.
Yeah, but those are two different gates.
It doesn't. The rebuilt thing, I don't care about. But you have a destroyed gate right there. Mm-hmm. And so he's got a group of people that rolled up on him, destroyed the gate. Apparently, it's private property. That's really not relevant to me. What's relevant to me is they destroyed the gate. And so I understand why he would interpret that as a hostile action. And I've been telling people, there's a lot of white folk who are very afraid. They live in a very comfortable environment. And, you know, it's kind of like America before 9/11. When 9/11 happened, we were kind of in the suburbs of the world. Nothing ever happened to us. We'd read about horrible things that happened on the news. And then 9/11 happened. And then everybody wanted to go kill, and a lot of it was motivated by fear because we were comfortable, and then 9/11 happened, and it communicated that our comfort zone wasn't there. So there's a ton of white people who are scared to death. And I say it all the time, there isn't really much aesthetic difference between fear and hate. I understand why these two came out brandishing their weapons. I really do. I don't know whether they're racist or not. I don't know, whatever. But you cannot tell me that these people were irrational to be afraid. Do you think that they were crazy for being scared?
I just think that if you're really scared, like you two 60-year-old people out on your front lawn with a gun and an entire crowd, like, I don't know. It seems like, honestly, to me, it seems like a stupid thing to do because the crowd could turn on you.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously...
look how old these people are.
What is it? Well, that...
And I don't like that they're showing two different gates. Like, you're looking like that's not a big deal, but I don't know where that other gate was. Where the news took the picture of the missing gate, and there's another gate up there, that's not the same area of the picture that he sent. So I don't know what happened to his gate. Maybe that's what happened.
Well, but... would you be surprised if those people destroyed that gate, considering what we've seen on the news for the past?
Considering what we've seen, no. But when I'm looking at the people that are supposedly going right toward them, and the guy is just telling them just keep going that way.
Well, there's one guy that's trying. There's one guy that's trying to keep the beat. And if you look at this woman's face, look at her eyes. She's scared. Look at that. She's terrified.
New at noon, we are now.
These people are terrified. I hear what you're saying, but I'm looking at it like, look, these folks. I'm stereotyping them. They're probably having a steady diet of Fox News, and Fox News is not attempting to portray. This is in St. Louis, Missouri. Fox News is not in any way, shape, or form trying to portray the protesters as human beings. They're calling them a mob, thugs, animals, etc., etc. They're curating what videos they show. So if you're ingesting a steady diet of Fox News and you don't know, you've never been outside of your little suburban circle, I can completely understand why these people would be scared. Like it makes complete sense to me, especially if you look at this picture. This happened in St. Louis after a prayer service. 3 men, you see them right there. They're jumping on this white dude and smacking the hell out of this guy. Okay, so that happened. Man. That happened the day before. Yeah. So I can understand why they would be afraid. Now look, this picture has no context to it. No. It's from the Gateway Pundit, which obviously we know what side they're on. Horror! Far left mob beat Christian man with a stick at St. We have no context. All we know is that this happened, right? And now a lot of you are saying, oh, we don't need any context. You got people ganging up on this guy. What's going on? Well, here, let's take a case study. This is Brandon McCormick of Salt Lake City, Utah. And watch what happens here.
Brandon McCormick, he says his car was turned over and set on fire because he yelled, "All lives matter." What happened?
I got beat up. Well, first I got beat up when I yelled, "All lives matter."
So this poor fella, all he did was yell, "All lives matter," and look at him, they beat the hell out of him. Savages.
And what happened to the people who turned your car? Nothing.
Nothing happened. So these savages, this horrible mob, beat up this poor guy. All he was doing was spreading a message of love, peace, tolerance, and inclusion. All lives matter. Just because I say all lives matter doesn't mean I'm a racist. And nothing happened to the people that did it. This is another narrative that's happening, is that nothing is happening to these criminal people who are going around and terrorizing our country for no good reason.
How did you get hurt on your forehead?
Because I yelled out my window, cops...
Did somebody hit you with something?
Yes, 2 black African Americans.
2 black African Americans. He said, who hit you? Why are you all tore up like that? Oh, well,
no, said, what happened
two black African Americans hit him. Okay.
Get this motherfucker, man! Get this
The vast majority of the crowd were not black. The vast majority of the crowd that jumped on this guy were white.
Yeah, that's definitely what it looks like.
But when he was asked what was going on, he said 2 black African Americans came after him.
Didn't he say he was inside his car too?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He's outside his car.
Well, here's this other video of him walking around with a knife.
What?
There he is, right there with his.
Oh my gosh, he does have a knife.
He was stalking all over the place with a knife. He forgot to mention that. Forgot to mention that he was stalking around with a knife. The news later called it a machete. And then he said 2 black African Americans came after him, which is a lie. A whole mob of people came after them, most of which were white. But why did he say 2 black African Americans? You know why. You know why. It's the same thing with Central Park Karen, where she said, I'm going to call the cops and tell them an African American man, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
These folks know exactly how to manipulate the media. This fella's not very intelligent. I'm not mocking him. He made some Facebook posts and he made some horrible spelling mistakes. He's just not a very intelligent individual. Some people are gifted with it, some people aren't. He's not very intelligent, but he knows humanity and he knows his country well enough.
That's terrible.
To frame these situations in a certain light. And he also knows that there are people that have confirmation bias and do not care about accurate reporting.
Yep.
They'll say it's an opinion or a devil's advocate. This is why it's very important to be completely accurate when you are reporting the news. So, here's this couple. I'm imagining this couple in their nice little palatial home, and they're watching stuff like this, where guys are getting beat up. The guy's car got set up. All he said was all lives matter. That's all he said. And by the way, this fella, this very nice, caring fella, listen to this.
He has previously been convicted of battery on a peace officer or fireman, as well as possession or manufacturing and sale of dangerous weapons in San Bernardino, California. That makes him a restricted person.
Correct. This is a very violent dude. And he went out there because he wanted to create a violent altercation. But again, framing is everything.
Yep.
So he framed it a certain way because it was going to confirm a certain bias that certain people have toward other people. You know what I'm saying? It's amazing to me when people say America isn't racist or the police department doesn't have systemic racism. Really? Whether it's a highfalutin upper middle class white lady in Manhattan, she knows to use the code African American male to get folk in trouble, or whether it's a very not intelligent, very violent person who's on the lower end of the class scale, he also knows to use that phrase. So here's the point. These two people...
And he never asked him, did you catch the description of the person that hit you? He just said, what happened to your head?
Yeah, did you get beat up?
And then he added that information in there.
Correct. So we know that these two people, they're watching news like this, they're watching things without any context. The people break down the gate and they're going, of course they're going to be afraid. What in the world? What do you expect? Of course they're going to be afraid. So I have no judgment for this man or this woman. To me, it's a combination of just the regular human nature. Somebody kicks down a door, or kicks down a gate, breaks down a gate, and goes into your gated community. Again, they're in a gated community, which means that you want to be away from the lower class people. So some of this is race and some of this is class. I earned all this money so I could be in a gated community away from these people. And again, I talk a lot about what's happening metaphorically in our country. When they break down those gates and break down those barriers, that psychology is now these people can come in. And notice, he says there were hordes and hordes of them.
Yeah.
He used the term horde. It wasn't a horde of people. But in his mind, they were, because these types of people are not used to going into his territory. So I'm not excusing it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I mean, I've got a picture here where he's got the 16 aimed at his wife. Because, who needs trigger discipline in this day and age? So I'm not saying he's right or wrong. I'm saying I understand it. But the real tragedy here in this story is we're missing the real issue. Why were these protesters protesting in the first place? Well, here's why. The mayor of that area did the following. Here is the mayor, and listen to what she did. Here's one that wants $50 million to go to cure violence, $75 million to go to affordable housing, $60 million to go to health and human services, and have zero go to the police, Cruzen said. This is the mayor, Mayor Cruzen. According to the report, and then she names the person who lives on and names the address. So all
these people?
No, the mayor. So what happened is these protesters were going
to that guy's house.
That's
or
a
that
woman.
Woman's house.
They were going to protest and tell her that she needs to retire.
Oh my God.
Right? So she actually doxed these people and there's Lita Cruzen.
Oh, no.
She doxed these people, gave out their address. This is a leadership.
Why would she do that?
This is a leadership. This is a leadership. The leadership in this country are taking a side explicitly and joining and stirring up all of this angst. These are facts.
Wow.
You get on TV and you name these people and their address. What if these people have kids? So she goes and does that. So they were going to protest her. So even though I understand why those two people were aiming the weapons, I also understand why people were saying, I don't care, you're not standing behind this gate, we're going after you. I understand that too. Now, I'm not saying the white couple waving the guns were right, but I'm not going to condemn them, and I'm not going to say the people that kicked down the gate were right, but I'm not going to condemn them either. You name us, you put our address out there so any of these right-wing fanatics who love their guns could show up to my house with a gun, like this psychopath was stalking around the area with a knife.
That's awful.
No. So what they're saying is, you put our lives in danger, so now we're going to go and give you that same type of energy and see how you like it. It's understandable. Whether or not you believe it's excusable, it's understandable. So this entire conflict that could have resulted in these two people being killed, because what if one of these protesters starts packing, or one of these protesters being killed, all of this was instigated by the mayor. The mayor created this situation and did nothing to de-escalate it.
Where is the actual good leadership? Like, what happened in this country where leaders are not leaders anymore?
Look, if you
that's so juvenile to do something like that.
Honestly, you have got to lay this at the feet of Donald Trump. You have to. Here's why. Because the way that I found out that this happened, that this standoff happened, was because Mr. Trump retweeted it with no commentary. He retweeted this thing with no commentary. And Mr. Trump has a track record of supporting white folks showing up with guns. You remember this? The Michigan militia? Here we go, the Michigan militia. Now, what do you think these people were protesting? COVID-19, the COVID-19 restrictions.
Oh, is that what they were doing?
Yeah. There's currently...
I was going to say something, but you can't take their weapons away.
There was oh, no. They showed up fully armed.
This is
in their masks. In their masks, by the way. Elijah McClain had a mask. He had no gun, and he's dead. These folks show up in a militia with their guns to the state capitol, defying the order to stay home, defying the social distancing stuff. We've got 500,000 people dead in COVID worldwide, and I think we're up to 127,000 deaths in America. And this is what happens. Now watch what Trump does with this group of people. Look what Trump says about these group of people. The governor of Michigan should give a little and put out the fire. Oh, he should give a little and put out the fire. You mean he should be conciliatory? Listen to what he says. These are very good people, but they are angry. They want their lives back again. Safely. See them, talk to them, make a deal. Now, ladies and gentlemen, have you ever heard Mr. Trump say this about Black Lives Matter?
No.
These are good people, but they're angry and they want safety. Maybe we should make a deal with them. Has he ever said anything like that? When Colin Kaepernick was kneeling, Leah, I'm sorry. When Colin Kaepernick was kneeling, he called him a son of a bitch, blah, 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 blah. So these people in Michigan have a legitimate beef where they could show up with assault rifles and masks and all that jazz. They have a legitimate beef, and the governor should just chill out. But these Black Lives Matter folks, they're just animals. The only thing he posts about Black Lives Matter was yesterday. I was talking about how he was posting the folks that were defacing the statue. So he was literally posting pictures of people that were defacing the statue of Andrew Jackson, the slave-owning, slave-raping bastard over there. And that's all Trump has to say about Black Lives Matter.
But these are good people.
But these crazy people who show up with all these assault rifles, they're okay. They're good people. Now people are saying, well, they weren't rioting. You know what? Colin Kaepernick wasn't rioting 4 years ago.
Nope.
He wasn't rioting 4 years ago, but he was a son of a bitch. But these guys, they're very, very good people. And then he goes and retweets this thing with no context, and everybody who has a mind and knows Trump's track record believes that he was endorsing this type of behavior. At minimum, it was completely irresponsible, Mr. Trump, because you didn't frame this in any logical way. Trump, why? Look, we all know what side Trump is on, and that
it's obvious.
He is who he is. But Mr. Trump, you're the president. If you're going to retweet something like that, at least say, hey, Mayor, you caused this mess. Mm-hmm. You doxed those people. What the hell is wrong with you? You shouldn't do that. You don't have to support the people marching, Mr. Trump. You don't have to do that. But can you at least talk to people in power and tell them not to dox people and create more social unrest and tension that's already there? Can you at least do that? Now, like I said, everybody and their mother who sees that tweet from Trump believes that he's endorsing this behavior. Mm-hmm. Whether you're on the left or on the right.
Yeah.
But even if on a technicality you say, well, he didn't endorse it, he didn't frame it in the way that it needs to be framed. Because the real issue is this mayor who doxed these people and put their lives and the lives of their children in jeopardy. Mm-hmm. That's the issue. I lay this specifically on Trump. You did not see government officials. Somebody get this to me. Get this to me in the comment section. I don't remember government officials during the Bush administration, the Clinton administration. Well, the Clinton administration, that was well before the internet. I don't remember this happening under the Bush administration, the Obama administration. I don't remember government officials doing craziness like this. Mm-hmm. This is a direct result of taking your cues from Mr. Trump. Those are facts. He has changed politics in America. Those are facts. And you have to take responsibility for it. You have to. And this right here, look, like I said, I'm not mad at these two. I'm not mad at these two. I understand. They said we were in fear for our lives. I understand. If you're ingesting a steady diet of Fox News and that's all you're watching, and then you see this contextual nonsense that they put out there, and it happens all the time on CNN and MSNBC. Don't get it confused, because both of these groups do not care about the truth, and they don't care about reporting accurately. This is why when you're on the internet and you're talking about stuff like this, you need to be as accurate as you possibly can.
Absolutely. Because
it goes into the cultural zeitgeist, and I don't want to hear anybody's excuses about why so-and-so gets to do such and such. Nope. Because this is all feeding into our collective perceptions. And if you don't understand that, then I can't help you. Mm-hmm. So these two, I'm not mad at them. They said they were in fear for their lives. I believe they were in fear for their lives. These people broke down the gate. They march in there. They're very angry. And these two people probably don't even understand why these people are angry or where they're going. They probably don't even know. Because they're probably not going to get the information from Fox News that says, hey, this woman just doxed all these people. So they don't know what's going on. And then these people, the protesters, they're justifiably angry. And they're looking at these people like, who the hell are these people? Because that wasn't even the target.
Yeah, we're just going by.
So, horrible situation. And we're in a lot of trouble because this is our leadership.
Jeez.
This is our leadership. This is Mr. Trump. He's clearly taking a side. Leah, it's impossible. Trump, look, Leah, he is not the president of every American. That's a fact. And I'm not, look, I don't think any black person in America expected Trump to be the president.
No, I don't think so either. I think everybody was pleasantly surprised that he switched the prison laws.
Please miss me, John Lee, and the rest of you silly people who say, oh, you're just going after Trump. No. When Trump does something right, I say he did something right. I broke the story about him with the First Step Act and all the leftists were coming after me. Please miss me with it. You guys need to stop being so sensitive. These are facts. Both of you, both sides. Stop being so sensitive. This is not the channel for you if you want to hear what you want to hear. But terrible situation. I feel bad for everybody involved. I feel bad for this. I think that these people are probably traumatized. Now, I know a lot of people can be like, oh my God. But again, if you've come up a certain way and you've lived a certain way, and that little gate served as a sort of metaphorical barrier, a safety net for you, and then you see that could be destroyed, and now
Missouri seems like such a quiet place to me. Like, it seems like boring.
Missouri is Missouri is the show me state. You know, they've got a history. I mean, that's the thing. Is Missouri, you know, give me liberty, give me death. Like, they're not playing around.
Yeah, but is there usually like a lot of action in Missouri?
Well, I just think
I feel like that would be more surprising to them that all this was happening, because it's not like...
Well, the thing is, what I'm saying is a cultural heritage of Missouri is, you know, during the Revolutionary War, the guns, and they were one of the main players, and so that's how you're socialized if you come up in Missouri. And so what I'm saying is, just like these folks have guns, what if people now show up and say, oh, where are these people? Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
All right, let's show up.
She's just standing out there in her striped shirt. Like, I'm surprised. See, that to me, that's what's weird to me, but maybe it's the way that I would deal with fear and the way that they're dealing with fear. If I was fearful and there was a big mob coming into my yard, I would get my kids and I would leave the property.
Well, I think the stereotype of people on the left is that they're not quick to grab their guns. And, you know, the fact of the matter is, when you hear these mass shootings by these white males, they're usually on the right.
Yeah.
And so the left is usually viewed as anti-gun and all the rest of it. So she took that stereotype, I'm assuming, and they both went out there and assumed none of these folks had guns, even though it's Missouri. But eventually, something like this is going to pop off where people do have weapons. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's a horrible, horrible situation that we're in. I mean, we saw this guy was stalking around with a knife, and then, you know, folks had to jump on him and to disarm him.
Is that why everybody jumped on him? Is that what the story?
He had a knife, and he came out with aiming a bow and arrow at these kids.
What? Yeah. A bow and arrow?
Yes, he came out with a bow and arrow.
Honestly, when someone comes out with a bow and arrow, to me that makes them seem even more crazy.
Well, yeah. So that, you know, my dude rolled up on him with a skateboard and bashed him on the head with a skateboard. I guess he thought that maybe the graphite on the skateboard was why he thought it was African American.
Oh my gosh. I did see black. Wow, okay.
Our country's, and we've got no leadership. We have no leadership. Let me look at Joe Biden.
That's really terrible.
Let's see what Joe Biden has to say here. You know.
Wow. So did they re-report on this?
Who?
Whichever news channel was talking about, you know, making him out to be some poor guy that just all lives matter, and then everybody jumped on him.
I mean, people. Okay, so he's got the abortion decision. No, Biden didn't touch it at all.
Walking around with this big giant knife.
Biden didn't touch it at all. I mean, look, our leaders. We're on the island. You ever read Lord of the Flies? We're on the island, and there's no parents. So this is my little small corner of the internet. Whether you're Democrat or Republican, left or right, Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, man, we've got to make sure that we're taking care of each other and that we don't add to the hysteria, because we can't depend on our leaders to give us any leadership. So you have to be the leader in your given community, because other than that, we have no hope. Love your neighbor.
Take care of each other.
Middle America.
We are the media.
Till next time, guys.